It's so good to see you all and hear you all and see all the smiling faces. And uh, I guess I'm glimpsing at my future. I got to have a group of friends like you all. I can see that this is so valuable. Today I'm going to talk about Joyce Scott. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my presentation and get
I'm
it.
going to ask everybody to mute themselves, please.
Okay. So I met Joyce Scott actually through one of my professors at Howard University, and I have met her several times since then, always through friends and always people who are so happy to know her. And, you know, she adds so much value to the lives of people in her community that I decided I didn't just want to explore Joyce as an artist, but I wanted to think about her as a community member, how she fits in with her family, how she fits in with the community of artists, and just how she fits in as a community member in Baltimore. This presentation is actually turning into a whole project for me that will be a web-based essay that I'll be happy to share with you all when it is completed. So, do you know Joyce Scott?
Mhm.
And I know that several of you all do. And if you don't know her, you know of her. If you interacted with the arts community, or sometimes if you've just been out and about, she's really friendly and she will strike up a conversation with anybody. Even my children know Joyce Scott from when they've gone places with me and she's been there. Oh, let's see. I'm clicking that the wrong way. There we go. So Joyce Scott was born in Baltimore in 1948. And I'm going to agree with this statement that she is arguably the most significant and influential living female artist working in Baltimore, because I hear her name from everybody. And so I wasn't surprised when I joined the board of Maryland Women's Heritage Center and heard her name again. She is a sculptor, excuse me, a printmaker, installation artist, performer, quilter, storyteller, educator. And she draws from a wide range of influences. I'm always very interested in how she uses the African and Native American influences to tell the stories that she tells through her work, but also how she taps into both her lived experiences and the collective experience of African Americans. So you can see Joyce's work, as you saw before. There's some pieces that are jewelry. I've seen her do shows where it's all jewelry, but she also does installations, and you can see it anywhere, probably from library galleries to great big and very important museums, which also speaks of how she interfaces as a member of the community. She is renowned for craftsmanship and for the social commentary. And she often challenges the issues of racism, violence, sexism, morality, and other stereotypes, forms of social injustice. I am going to give you all the slideshow once I get it tidied up a little bit afterward. So don't worry about trying to read it. You'll have it for your very own collection soon.
Oh, good.
So I've collected a few videos from YouTube, and then I have a video that I did in conversation with Joyce over a Zoom interview. So I'll start with the YouTube videos. This is Joyce just talking a little bit about herself as an artist as she sees it.
I'm an artist simply because it is my best voice. I'm the right person for this job. I'm someone whose brain is going at 70 trillion miles an hour. I'm an idea girl. My inspiration for working in beads wasn't working with my mom. She doesn't do your traditional quilt work. She festoons her quilts with buttons and beads. The piece that's in the permanent collection at the Smithsonian that's called Necklace, I'm using old Czechoslovakian beads, beads from Asia, beads from Europe. And a lot of my work is about lyricism and about movement, about rhythm. I'm an artist because I've been blessed with a gift. I'm an ordinary person with an extraordinary talent. Yes, I said that too.
That's great.
So you hear that Joyce mentioned her mother. And so again, this is, you know, what I noticed even in conversation with her is, you know, she locates herself originally within her family, and then she stretches out from there, and that it's not just a way of working, it is a way of being. And, you know, as we know, you know, the current evolution of our society is that we're really starting to look at this, the idea of being, and who has a right to be, and how do you need to be, and who has a right to determine how you be, you know. So so I'm very interested in this line of conversation from Joyce. And you know, again, she's very influenced by her mother. I have another video here where she talks a little bit more about her parents in relation to her work.
Hello, my name is Joyce J. Scott. I'm a visual and performing artist who lives here in Baltimore, Maryland. When I say I'm a visual artist, I am an artist who employs beadwork in most of the mediums that I work within, but I'm also an artist who uses glass. I'm a printmaker. Now, as a performing artist, I've written and performed in a lot of work around the United States, the Caribbean, Europe. I'm also a singer. But I, who comes from one of those classic African-American backgrounds, parents up from the Carolinas. My father picked tobacco in North Carolina. My mother picked cotton in South Carolina. Coming farther north to Baltimore, which is still the South, folks. My father worked at Bethlehem Steel, a steel worker, a crane operator. My mother's side of the family are multi-generational craftspeople. So they were potters and weavers and spinners, and they cane chairs. My grandfather was a blacksmith. You name it, they did it. This desire to be right up front and all into the jam, into the mix, into the jism of the art, that's what I got from them. I do it because it's my best voice. I'm not a politician, but I like to do work that's politically and socially oriented. I'm not a preacher, but I believe that there are ethics and morals in my work. How do I rid myself of my demons and feel creative? I do it by being an artist. I'm not always looking for an emotion. I'm looking for involvement. I want my artists to really feel involved in the artwork that I make and leave with something, whether they agree with me or not, whether they disagree, whether they're befuddled or just angry at the work I do. And trust me, people have told me all these things as well as love the work. I want the work to be something more than eye candy or decoration for a wall from your interior designer. You know, Africa has influenced me greatly because it's a country that still takes part in very primal work. They don't have everything made by computers.
Okay, I'm going to stop this and keep going because I don't want to lose too much time on all the videos. This one is going to be more exciting. She mentioned that she is a performer. And for those of you who don't know Joyce and you've just been listening to her talk about her artwork, this is going to be really enjoyable. Because I think that until you know this about her, you don't know it. And it's just always surprising what it actually is. So.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Gallery.
Oh, and some of you might know Martise too. Oops, I gotta go back. Wait a minute. Go back. Thanks. Okay, here we go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Gallery Mertiz. We're so happy that you're joining us for the exhibition, The In and Outsiders. This is a very special day for Joyce. It's her mother's birthday. And so in her honor, Joyce is going to be performing a medley of songs.
Hello, everybody. Before I go on, I must introduce Derek Thompson, who is our pianist for tonight. I work with Derek a lot. He has a trio. They have a variety of names, the crew, the inmates, the guys you don't want to drink with. They have a lot of names. All really very good musicians. Today is February the 8th. This is 3 years after my mom passed away. She would have been 98 years old. And thank you all for coming and sharing the artwork, especially her quilts. They haven't been seen en masse like this since in Baltimore, since her retrospective at MICA many years ago. I am going to sing tonight, but I'm not just singing songs in praise of my mother. I've chosen a song for each artist to represent, I think, the personality of their artwork. And since I knew all three of them, their personalities, but I'm going to start with an opening to begin with, which was written by Dolly Parton. People forget that she's an amazing songwriter. We start the I know you all know this. You're all ex hippies, so you know. We'll sing in the sunshine. We'll laugh every day. We'll sing in the sunshine, and then I'll be on my way. I sing to you each morning. I'll kiss you every night, but darling, don't cling to me. I'll soon be out of sight. We'll sing in the sunshine. We'll laugh every day. We'll sing in the sunshine. Then I'll be on my way. My daddy once told me, hey, challenge life's demand. Just take what it can give you and give back what you can. We'll sing in the sunshine. We'll laugh every day. We're gonna sing in the sunshine, and we'll be on our way. And when our time has ended, and I have gone away, you'll often speak about me. And this is what you'll say. We sang in the sunshine. We laughed every day. We sang in the sunshine. Now you've gone away. We'll sing in the sunshine, and we'll laugh every day. We gotta sing in the sunshine, then we'll be on our way.
Okay, and I'm at the risk of being a bad DJ, I'll stop it there. I could just sit and watch that for the rest of the afternoon. So one of the things that I thought about, and I want to thank you, Babs, for the phone numbers to connect me with Joyce again. Even though, I've met her a while back, we've never exchanged numbers. So I see her when I see her. And this was really very nice. She is super hospitable, as you'll see when I play this video. This is the conversation I was having with her. So I was asking Joyce about how she sees her role as an artist and a community member, And after we finish watching this, I also want to talk to you all a little bit more about what you think about artists as not just artists producing work, but as members of community and as, activists working alongside you toward whatever our goals are as a society. And not just necessarily through, the marching in the street, but sometimes through their aesthetic, because, aesthetics and visual communication can also pack a huge punch. So I want to go ahead and play some of this. I have a good starting point because we chit-chatted a little bit before we got started. Let me see. I'll start here.
There we go. I decided I would take a different angle
Nope,
because
I messed
there's a
up.
lot of things that I could find out about you just by getting on the internet and poking around. So I didn't.
Yeah, okay. Wait a minute.
There we go. I decided I would take a different angle because there's a lot of things that
There we go.
it's what it is. So I want to talk about Joyce, the person, the artist, the community member. Okay. So I have a few questions for you. And the first one, I'm sorry, I'm not, I gotta read them to make sure I ask what I intended. Can you tell us about each of these aspects of yourself and how you see them in your life? How would you describe them and whether or not you consider them to be separate aspects of yourself, or do they operate in collective and complementary ways? That's a lot of question. I write long question.
Okay, so which aspects are you talking about?
I'm talking about Joyce, the person, Joyce, the artist, and Joyce, the community member.
I think they're both. They work together, and then sometimes they're very separate. I, as a human, encompass all of those things at once. Certainly, I'm living in a community, so that's there. I'm an artist who works every day and who is very inspired and sometimes very upset about everything that I see, read, eat, am a part of. So I am a part of that. And the personal joys that baby Joy, who was reared by her parents, has always been taught to persevere and to do and get what you want. And I find when I'm doing that, then I'm best for others as well. I feel it's really very, very, very important to find that place in you that allows you to give as much or more than you get. It's important. So that's why I think those people are happy when they say my name, because they know that I'm a giver, but I'm not a giver because I am being pompous or I want. That's something that was developed in me. Of course, I am probably pompous and I do want, but those are things that were developed in me by parents who did not have the opportunity to be as free as I am. And the way they eked out freedom and were joyous and were creative, made it not only easy for me as a youth, but taught me how to be in pursuit of that. Taught me how to not be subverted or subsumed by somebody else's idea of my creativity, my gender, my ethnicity, or my desire. Not my desire, my quest, my hunger for, and my being on that track despite whatever seems right for you. Is that making sense?
Oh, that makes great sense.
And in regard to community, my parents were sharecroppers. They had what they had through barter, trade, and sharing. And so that deep impulse about not hoarding, people who come to my house say, you a hoarder. Fuck you. No. When I say hoarding, I mean hoarding my technique, hoarding my inspirations, holding close because I'm scared you're going to outshine me, or you'll take what I've done and do it better. Well, that as a teacher is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Now, of course, I don't think you'll be able to do it better because I'm full of crap. But the idea that in a community, one must be as forthcoming and giving as they can in their own comfort zone. Why else am I around? And because I do that, boy, do I get it from others. It's not like I'm just, I'm out giving. I shall give to you. Take this. And now I will go into my cottage and I'll drink tea and no, people are just very, very forthcoming with me also. So that's part of the reason to be in the community, because you can give as well as get. What was the third one? There were 3 things that were specific.
It was the person, the artist, and the community member. I think you addressed those. And then I said, I asked you whether you consider them to be separate, they operate as a collective, or in complementary ways. I think you went into that somewhat.
Yeah, both, all of those things.
Yeah, and your responses lead very well into about the next 2 or 3 questions. So, so how
I read them.
You read them? Good. Well, that's why I find it better when people send me the questions early and I have a chance to think about it a little bit. I don't like surprise questions.
I don't read them. I like being spontaneous. But if someone sends them, even if you don't even know them, if you see that their house has something in the window, or when you see them leave, they have a self-concern and when you see that, it's a form of living and teaching and by proxy. And so community is very important. I revel in being part of an artistic community because it's just so nutritious. It's just such a valuable experience to be able to be around people who are scholars on many different levels. The old ideas, and remember, in Europe, gypsies and prostitutes and actors and artists, they were all the same thing. So it's taken a long time for Western society to see artists, as a real viable part of the community. So some of us are elevated really high and then others, but people forget that everything that you do, everything you touch, you sit, you eat, all of it is done by an artist, by a creator. So I find that is, for me, my community in all its ways really are the things that propel me to have a better life, be it spiritual or health-wise, all of those things happen. And it's also that, obligatory for us to bring Africa into it. And it is that the African kind of circle. It is that different ages and different religions and different languages and different ways to answer the very same question. And that's very, very important to me because I grow, I become more sophisticated in the best definition of that word. I don't mean sophisticated, I mean in the best evolved human that I can be. Also, I'm not scared of my own people. So I could rush off. People have asked me, Joyce, you are an acclaimed artist. Why are you still in the hood? People actually still say the hood. And I ain't scared of my folks. So I should go off and live and be away from my bloodstream, the thing that makes me vital. I'm not, I of course I'm afraid of people who are evil, but I don't believe the majority of us are. So I will stay until it becomes perilous for me. Next.
Okay, that's a great answer. That is the whole conversation. That's
I think I want to jump a little further to the end. Hopefully I'll land in the right place. And like I said, I will share this with you all so that you can kind of sit at your leisure and look at it, but it's about an hour's worth of video. Let me see if I can find a good spot here.
The thing is, when I think about African American history, I'm talking about American history. And when people spend a lot of time separating them, and I do understand why, then that gives people the opportunity to denigrate it because it's not as good or it's not as real as American history. The history that exists for this culture is laden with the bodies, the blood, the intellect, the knowledge, the sadness, the joy, the talents of African Americans. We know the wealth, the reason why this country is wealthy is on our backs. So I just won't accept anything less. I hear people say to me, well, that's because you're Joyce Scott. Well, you're you who you are. Life is very short. At 73, I'm really seeing it. Should I spend my time in the belief that others have about who I am and what African Americans are? Or should I be that one? And when people say, what do you mean? If not me, who? If not now, then when? I don't have a big win anymore. So I just am going to be that person. And I've been blessed with the talent to be that good. And I won't be denied in that regard. That doesn't mean I get in all the shows I would like to be in. That doesn't mean I'm in the Guggenheim. What it means is I should be there. It means my work, my strength, my dedication to myself, to my people, specifically African Americans, to the world, to the global humanity of the world. It's that good. Now, if the politics of life and the sadness and the terrible whatever we have of life does not allow it, it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change the quality of what I do. Is that good for you? And that's what I tell anybody who's telling me, yeah, but no, this is your life. You can have 73 years of sorrow, or you can have your whole life of going after that brass ring. Mine would be golden. And I'm the person who's going to be going after that ring. I can't ask others to do it, but I can try to hold a couple of hands so we can do it together, and then they'll hold some hands. You know, that's the reality of it. People like they like the poetry of stuff. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, how do you get there? By being that good. And it's a lot of work. It's not something that a computer can give you. It's not even something that a book can give you, unless you are a scholar who's a writer. If you're a visual artist, the way you receive all of what you need is by making the art, by not being at the club. I know how that sounds because I used to go to the club. By pursuing that thing, like the end of the road, it is heaven. So that's why I do what I do. That's what I would say. That's the answer to that last question. You got one more question?
I got one more question.
9:30 at night.
Because you already know. What does being an African-American woman artist mean to you? And what is the highest goal you have for your life and work from this vantage point? And what do you want your art, what work do you want your art to do in the world?
I don't know if I have a simple answer to that. You know, my answer is that I want to live. I want to live and create the work that is the most profound for me. And if I'm doing that, then others will see it as such. I don't have grandiose ideas about what I am or how it will make a difference in the world. But I know that it can make a difference, whether it's minuscule or not. And so that's what I'm about. I want to live. That's what I want to do. Keep producing. And I don't have a great idea about which art will do it. I just love making art. So I'm always experimenting. I just know that I was not put here to have a chore and to do that chore until I can no longer do it and then go to the next existence, whatever it is. I believe I was sent here to glow, to be a beacon. But I don't think that's just me. I think everybody has that ability. I know it. Remember, I said, I know it. And what I want to do is shine until I transition into whatever else I'm going to be into. I always say that I think I'm going to go to Baltimore Heaven. And then whenever I get out of detention, because you know I'll be in detention a lot, that I want to be a junior angel, because they won't let me just become an angel. I'd have to start and be a junior angel. And then I'd go back to detention.
I hope that you're my junior angel if I'm still here doing something, because I need one. I definitely need one. And I need one who knows what
I wouldn't have like full-fledged wings yet. I'd be like, I'd be called in, like, I'd be in trouble so much, I wouldn't even get like a supervisor stuff. I'd go straight to God. But I thought, it's heaven. I thought I could like earn detention again. But detention is heaven detention, so it can't be that terrible.
I know. How bad could that be? Yeah, I love it.
I know.
I love
It's like
it.
no ice cream.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there because I think the rest of it was when I promised to cook dinner for her or something like that. So let's see. In her own words, and this is something from a different interview that she did, where she says, "I'd like my art to induce people to stop raping, torturing, and shooting each other." So even with some of the lighthearted, and great sense of humor that you've seen in the video from the interview, deep down, I think that Joyce knows, and she clearly communicates that she is dealing with the tough issues in life. I think it's beautiful how she does so with love, among us and with us. If you want to learn more about Joyce, there is a beautiful book out about her, Harriet Tubman and Other Truths. And I think that this is the one where Lowry Stokes Sims wrote the foreword for it. I think she did more than that. And then I also have a playlist that I made. I'll give you the link for that. I hope, Pamela, we're doing some follow-up links for people to look at. And then, like I said, I plan to use the video to create a web essay. With that, I thank you. And I'm going to leave that up on the screen for just a little bit so you all can see my contact information. I'll open back up this window so I can look at your faces and you all could still see me, right? Okay. All right. So, because I'm a teacher, at the end of the class, we have questions. I wanted to know, I had kind of one question. It's a two-part. As you can see, I'm like the master of multi-part questions, right? That's what I have one more question for you, and it was really 5 questions. But for you, whether you're an artist or an art appreciator, how important is it to you that artists locate themselves within the community and that they take on issues that are important to those communities? And what do you think about that as a part of their practice? Don't all jump in at once.
Well, I'll start. I think it's very important, Gina, that they speak to the community in which they're in. And I think probably historically, you're probably more familiar than I am because I'm not an art historian, but I think historically that's what artists have done over the years. And I'm just thrilled to see this interview that you had with her. I mean, I've known Joyce a little, not a whole lot, but I've seen her over the years and talked with her. But her animation is just so wonderful, and her humanness. This is the way she's been ever since I've ever known her over the years. And the fact that she mentioned that she's not leaving the hood, she lives in a what many of us would call a very dangerous area of Baltimore. And yet she won't live there. I have a friend that you spoke with, my neighbor, who won't drive there. She'll make Joyce come to her house with an Uber, but she won't take her back at night because of her own fear of driving in the neighborhood. But Joyce will remain in that neighborhood, as she says. That's probably a lot of her inspiration for her art. It's her bloodline, I think she called it.
Yeah. I would think. I think it when an artist makes a choice like that, it helps them also to create from a place of authenticity that is grounded in their own experiences.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. No. Mm-hmm.
Jump in, anybody else?
I know that we have an artist. I think Carolyn Sutton is still on. I'd be interested in her comments, who is an artist herself and taught art, what her thoughts are about the question that you raised.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Babs.
Okay, Carolyn.
Well, I know Joyce and I admire her work very much. When I was teaching, and even now when in my teaching, I talk about art as being a team sport. And I believe that from the bottom of my soul. If you're not talking with and about people that you know, if you're not inviting them into your work, I think you're a very different kind of artist than I know. And I think Joyce she and I are about the same age, has changed over the years in many ways that contemporary art has demanded us to change. When we were graduating from college, it was all about art for art's sake. And Joyce, throughout her career, has shown that no, it's about a lot more than that. So yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I love that about Joyce's work is, she didn't just come to that recently, as, a lot of people did. And, like you said, um, I know I came out of my master's program because I took the scenic route getting there, but I came out of my master's program um, still with this idea that the goal was to, create this work. You get into the galleries, be collected by different people. And then when you get collected, you end up in the museums. And then once you end up in the museums, then people take your work to the auction. And then you can be rich and famous as an artist and, just the whole story. But like Joyce says, I also realized not everybody gets to be that person. And, for the rest of the people, it's a matter of, just charting a course for, a stable career. But then around the time my dad passed away, which was in 2012, I I had this epiphany, which apparently Joyce knew all her life, about the meaning in my work, and not just, what does it mean, like in terms of the narrative and, can you explain it? But what does my work do besides provide this, emotional, psychological, aesthetic outlet for me and provide something beautiful for other people? But does it help to solve problems
Mhm.
or to help people talk about problems so that people can try to solve problems? And I would say that I would definitely classify Joyce's work as work that helps us to talk about our existence as human beings
Mm.
and to examine, what is really great about that, as well as what is problematic about it. And a lot of times she'll have just enough of something uncomfortable to help you get into that uncomfortable conversation that you need to have to get to a better place. And so, that's what made me think about wanting to talk about her, not just as an artist and go through her, she made this, she made this, she made that, but to talk about her as a community member.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, another aspect of that is how she talks about herself as a teacher. And you're a teacher too. I think those of us who are teaching artists have a very different kind of commitment about our work. So sharing our secrets is part of who we are. We don't try to hide our particular gifts from the rest of the world. That's my job too. I want my students to know what I know and then go off and do great things with it. And that kind of generosity on her part is something that you can see in everything that she does.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if my students are greater than me, all I want from them is to come back and take me to lunch. Just come back and take me to lunch. I'll be happy. Yeah. We had a hand raised a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was trying to look.
Joe. Says Joe's iPad.
Can
Unmute
you
yourself.
get back to the other one, the other screen? Can you?
Oh, sure. If I stop sharing. There.
Yeah, then I can see if anybody raises up their hand. Good,
Okay.
thank you. It looks like
one of
Joe.
the many concepts that Joyce expressed that I found most interesting was the idea associated with knowledge of one's own voice. And not only the knowledge, but the appreciation, the confidence in one's own voice and the ability to express that to others, to enable others to find their own voice, to be able to create with using their own voice that they found. I thought that was very impressive and very important, and I appreciate knowing it.
Yeah. Yes. Her confidence was amazing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, okay, Larry, one time. As a matter of fact, Can you imagine how wonderful the world would be if everybody knew they were going to heaven? If they just knew it. Larry,
But she thought she might go to detention.
well, you know, but it's heaven detention.
That's why, because she would still have that wonderful spirit of, speaking
Exactly.
out and speaking up. And
I can't imagine God would stay mad at her very long. Yeah,
Larry, did you have your hand up?
I did. I'm not an artist, but I'm married to an artist. And well, a couple of things. One is that my wife, Maggie Ball, went to Easton High School with Joyce Scott, and they were art students together.
Didn't
So
know that.
Maggie knew her. I don't think she knows her very well now, but she was head of the art department at Carroll Community College. And there were three art galleries there, and she every year, I think, averaged about 13 shows a year. So I've gone to almost all the shows. And one of the things I was amazing to me is that one of her arts is taking other people's art and displaying it in the most phenomenal ways. I mean, she worked very, very hard at that, and among other things. And people from the community came in, and oftentimes there were students, but also people who lived generally in Carroll County. She had the opportunity really to acquaint people with art, and often unusual art from different points of view and so forth. And I was able to watch that happen. And it wasn't just hanging it, it was the way she could host a show and interact with people. And you mentioned Joyce is very much like that. Well, Maggie's very much like that. Maybe they got that at Easton High School, I don't know. But that's an amazing thing to me to watch that, and to watch students, eyes open. Also, many times she was giving a first show to people, and presenting that to the community, and how wonderful it was for them. And over again, I saw artists just thank her for the way she put together the show and brought people in to see their work. And the other part, because I'm a sociologist by background, the word community is a fascinating word for me. People have different ideas about what that means. And one of the things I saw, and I still see happening, because is Carroll County, which is not known tremendously for its art, but there's an art community there, a very vibrant art community. And there's some very, very fine people like Bart Walters, who's nationally known, living there, and they interact with each other, and they show up to the shows. And I go to some of the shows. And it's really interesting to realize that it's a real community where people hug each other and really appreciate each other. And to me, that's the essence of community, is that when people really connect and see. And by the way, Renaissance is very much a community. And a lot of people outside don't know that about us. Sorry, I spoke a bit, but
I think Baltimore City has become more and more of an art community during my lifetime, especially more recently, I think, with the whole concentration north around the Charles Street, Mount Royal area, et cetera. It's become a much more of an art community, and a lot more of speaking with each other, as you're saying.
Yeah, I think Baltimore has become so much of an art community that I'm actually seeing people leave DC, and their
Really?
first choice of places to go is Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah, matter of fact, a young student who I know, I work with her mother. She went to New York to art school, and then she came back home, and then she told her mother, well, I want to be in Baltimore because the arts are doing great things in Baltimore right now.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
and Larry, I really appreciate the way that you describe art as a catalyst is such an overused word, but it's like that fiber that runs through a community, and it creates spaces for people to come together, and it creates opportunities. And my latest thing has been getting into the arts as a research method in public humanities and interdisciplinary projects. I work with a few people who are doing like cross-cultural psychology, and I guess art is probably the original interdisciplinary field, you
Yeah.
know. So, because you got to be able to know a little bit about everything to do it, including natural sciences, because if you don't learn the chemistry, you'll still blow something up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept. Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, this is very, very stimulating. Anyone else like to add their thoughts? No?
I guess I have something I'd like to say, and it's just threads that you've said, so I don't really have them pulled together, but to like Larry, I'm one of those, not sociology, but social work, human services, that kind of work. And community is a really big thing for us as well. And so what I think was important to me from what you were saying was how, again, the art comes out of the gallery or out of the museum and engages the community. And it seems to me that when you drive down some of the streets in the hood, one of the things that I notice is the murals on the walls.
Beautiful.
And it seems to me that it's a fairly new phenomena, or maybe I've just opened my eyes or driven in different places. But I often think about those as community gathering places and community places to focus on pride, community pride, because usually the people who are in the murals are somebody who's from that community but is now Thurgood Marshall, or somebody who we've heard of. And one of the things I've been thinking about during this series is about, we're trying to raise up, quote, women of achievement. And in the last session, I'm going to talk about some of the women I met in my dissertation study who were women, everyday women. They weren't people who you would have heard of, but they're doing things that have many themes and similarities to the women we've heard about throughout this. And I think that one of the things that artists can and do so well is to bring those people together, is to make community around an event, an artistic event, an unveiling. The fact that we have the West Baltimore Arts, what do you call it? The Arts District now, that, with a big statue of Billie Holiday, and we don't want them to tear down the house, which they did tear, or they're tearing down. But, those kinds of things are community generating and cause pride in the community. And then some activism for other things can come out of it. Let's get rid of the highway to nowhere. Let's build a skateboard park there, with art all around. So that's what I've been inspired by from what you're talking about. Hear more about it.
I think we can't leave out Graffiti Alley either. I don't know how many of you have seen Graffiti Alley, but it's wonderful now, off of North Avenue, and they'll be extending it. But it's another form of art. We see graffiti everywhere, but in Graffiti Alley, anybody can come in and do whatever. I sprayed. You can go in there. Anybody can spray if you want to, and it's very exciting. Smarn has her hand up.
I think your presentation was wonderful. It stimulated a lot of things that are around us in Baltimore, and we forget, because Baltimore North has been doing a lot of good work, and a lot of the young students from Maryland School for the Art are living now on North Avenue.
And Micah,
Because they're creating a community there for them with little cafes and others. And one of their buildings is right on North Avenue in Mount Royal. So
you think you're Micah? Mhm.
it's Jamaica, but these are also people from, I think, who probably are doing art in their own home, and you do not know till, as Larry said, you see them at a place interacting with community. You know, I, as a social worker, you're talking about art. Art was very important in working with young children,
Mhm.
of people who didn't. That was very much, and there were a number of artists, therapist artists, who brought good ideas to have a way of communicating with people who had different forms. So it's been a very energizing, your presentation sort of made me think of people in the community who are not known, but they are very much in the community. And I think especially going to see some of the art, this wall art that they do, I would love to sit there one day and see how they do it. I saw one Argentinian artist came here and did it near 83, a big, it was fascinating number of people and students who came. So we thank you for your very enriching presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity
you.
to do it. Yeah.
Gina, we do expect the follow-up. We will want to hear about your web essay and the links to the videos or whatever, you know, we'd
Absolutely.
like to share those because I
Mhm.
think
Please,
that's how you expose more folks to this. you know.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. Absolutely.
please. Are there any more comments? I'm just looking to see if anybody else has their hand up. No? Okay. All right.
Okay, well, we'll thank you again and look forward to more art from you and more learning about public art and art activism as well.
I will keep
Right.
you posted.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
great.